Hello there, my name is Hayley and I'll be your virtual teacher for today. Math can be kind of difficult since it's hard to see or visualize what math can look like all the time. That's why word problems can help a lot and why this class will be very visual. We will need graph paper. If you don't have any, you can make your own with a ruler, pencils, and coloring supplies. You may also need a ruler like I said before if you do not have graph paper or have trouble making straight lines. Mini problem. If 4 times 8 is 32 and 2 times 8 is 16, is 2 times 8 plus 2 times 8 also 32? They are. If you think about the numbers in terms of space inside of a rectangle, 2 times 8 takes up half the space inside 4 times 8. You could fit many other rectangles into that space too, like another pair of 2 times 4. What we are talking about right now is an area. The area of a shape is how much space it takes up. The perimeter of a shape is how long the sides on the outside are added together. With rectangles, you can find the area by multiplying one side against its other side, the length times the width. Shapes with the same area may not have the same exact shape. 8 times 1 rectangles have the same area as 2 times 4 rectangles, but won't fit neatly in a 2 times 6 rectangle like a 2 times 4 rectangle would. This is all kind of confusing, so just think of it in terms of, will this fit inside of this shape for now? There are many famous artists who worked with shapes and lines. A notable one was the Russian artist Vasily Kandinsky. He was a Russian artist from the 1800s and 1900s. He explored the use of shapes and color and is known as one of the fathers of abstract art. Abstract art is art that isn't clearly representational. You can draw an abstract person, but the person will look different from a person in real life. He started out with more realistic paintings in his youth, but over time he became more and more abstract. My favorite piece by him is Yellow, Red, Blue. The lines help move your eyes around the painting so you can take it all in. I love the colors and shapes, especially the colorful squares. They remind me of a Rubik's Cube. Using the lines to move the viewer's eye is an important part of having a good composition. Composition is how things are arranged on a canvas. There are many ways to compose a picture, but one of the most popular is the rule of thirds. If you make 2 lines down the middle of your paper, so that there are 3 sections all the same size, you can use the golden ratio or golden rectangles to make a composition that moves the eye. The golden rectangle is a rectangle that's length divided by its width equals the golden ratio, which is also known as phi. If you were to cut a square out of the golden rectangle, the remaining part of the rectangle would also become a golden rectangle. You do not need to know about the golden ratio or golden rectangle right now, but it's fun to see how math and art work together to create wonderful things. Today's activity will involve graph paper, pencils, coloring supplies, and a ruler if that makes it easier for you. We will be making our rectangle composition on the graph paper and then finding the areas of our rectangles. To find the area of a rectangle, you multiply the length times the width. Squares are rectangles too, but not all rectangles are squares. If you finish that and want to add more to your drawing, I have a challenge for you. Here is the formula, that's the equation to find the area, for triangles. It will be a little bit harder to fit triangles onto the graph paper neatly, but do your best. That's what the ruler or another straight edge is for. Here's one for perfect circles as well, but that's even more difficult than triangles since you need to use a special number pi. You can also use unique shapes to fill in any gaps or spaces just to add flourish to your piece. If you choose to do that, instead of having lined squares on your paper, it's really helpful. Once you have finished your wonderful artwork, I would like it if you found the area of all the colored parts and added them together. Then count the squares at the top of the graph paper and multiply it by the squares along the left or right side of the graph paper. This will give you the area of your paper in squares. Subtract the first number of colored squares from the area of your paper. This is just to see how much of the paper you ended up using. It's fun to see that you used a lot or a little of the paper. I did my math on top of the art to make it easier for me, but you should do yours on a separate piece of paper so you don't mess up your art. I ended up using 132 squares rounded and 0.64 squares, so I rounded it up to 133 squares out of 1,750 squares. So I only did a little bit, even though it looked like a lot because of all my wheelie lines and rectangles and stuff. It's just fun to see that. Anyway, let's move on to the review. Review. Today we learned that simple multiplication and addition, the orders of the numbers can be changed and still find the same answer. We also learned that areas are additive. You can find the area of a larger shape by adding two shapes together that make up the same size. My favorite part of the lesson, though, was certainly the activity where we made abstract art using shapes and lines and then practiced finding the areas of the rectangles and maybe some other shapes on our art piece. I would like to know, what was your favorite part of the lesson? What would you change if you were to take this lesson again? And what did your art look like? Did you use a lot of colors?